Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Okay, y'all, I am recording actually in the lobby of the hotel in Pennsylvania. And I have no idea how the sound is because I'm going to show you. I forgot to bring a good microphone. I'm using this cheesy ass little Wish microphone. If the sound is super crappy, let me know, and I will just use my onboard sound because again I forgot to bring a decent microphone. But this is cute. You got to admit it. It's like, hi, I'm a little pretend reporter. Okay, so this is dedication. All right, if you all ever doubted my dedication, I promised you weekly content. It is 4:03 a.m. here on the East Coast of Florida. And Florida. Did I say East Coast of Florida? East Coast of the United States. And when Wayne and I came in, I was like, I promised weekly content, so go to bed. I'll be down in the lobby recording so I don't keep you up. So if there are any brave souls here, please let me know how shitty the sound is, if it is in fact shitty, and we'll just use, again, my onboard mic if it is terrible. So, as I usually start here, up along the top here, I do have my Patreon. if you do enjoy this and appreciate my dedication to bringing you the content when I said I would, please consider becoming a patron. It really does help, and it allows me to get out of my shithole of a job and do liberty things more consistently. But that's all we'll talk about that. Let's move on. I don't have my little control panel here to move on to the next scene, so I'm trying to do it through all hotkeys. So here's what I have for you guys, and please do comment because it makes me know I'm not alone and just sitting here talking to myself. I do that enough. Okay, now the paper we're going to talk about today is, let me move this one little thing aside here. Ooh, come on now. Don't give me a pain in my booty. All right. Okay, so the mic should be closer. Let me move my whole laptop closer. So that should be a little better, hopefully. Ken, I never sleep. Ken Moments in comments, if you're wondering why I'm saying that. I never sleep. You know that. I'll sleep when I'm dead. So here's a paper I had sent to me in a batch of stuff. People send me historical stuff all the time. Now I know from the cover photo of this video, some people thought I was probably going to concentrate on the original copy of the Statement of Principles, the 1972 Statement of Principles, which explicitly said that the only economic system compatible with human freedom is laissez-faire capitalism. That language was changed in 1974 to the free market. I don't believe that was any kind of rejection of capitalism. It was just moving away from Randian terminology. Laissez-faire capitalism was so Randian, and by 1974 there was a huge split in the Libertarian Party between Ayn Rand and the party. And that's easier for your average person to understand, okay? But John Hospers wrote this paper in 1972, and it's funny because it is old, obviously 50 years old, but the issues he addressed in it are the exact same issues we are addressing today, and he made the same arguments that I make, and I love when that happens because I never think that I'm like so particularly brilliant. So when I see that people I respect have already made these same arguments, I'm trying to, let me push this up here a little bit. Right, I'm still trying to get this microphone as close to me as possible. Let's see. Move it this way maybe? Yeah, okay. All right, the angle's better now. That's what she said. Okay, so I'm very encouraged when I see that people I think are way smarter than me have made the same arguments that I am making now. And I just wanted to take a look at the screen here. Is that lighting okay? I've got this little light on my... Ooh, I like the brighter a little bit. Let's see. I like that better. I'm sitting in one of those, you know, those funky hotel lobby chairs. I kind of love them, but I'm wondering what kind of weird-ass store is there that these interior designers shop at for hotels. To me, it's just so crazy. So this paper that Mr. Hospers produced is called Libertarianism Without Capitalism. Now, we're just going to go through it, and I'm going to make some commentary. I'm going to hold it out here so I can read it. It says, let's start, first paragraph. Whether libertarianism implies capitalism has apparently become a matter of recent controversy. Funny, it is still a matter of controversy 50 years later. I actually did think this was a somewhat new controversy. You learn something new every day. It's not. It has even been declared that libertarianism is a political philosophy which is neutral with respect to economic systems and is equally compatible with both capitalism and socialism. That is the exact argument that was made with the... Listen, I'm going to tell you my opinion. My opinion has nothing to do with the people propounding it. I could love the people propounding it. People I love, some of them have real shitty opinions on some things. And that comment there, that libertarianism is a political philosophy which is neutral, this is a claim. He's not going to agree with this claim. with respect to economic systems, and equally compatible with both capitalism and socialism, is the bullshit claim, the absolute bullshit claim that was made in the so-called NOLA Accord in New Orleans, which thankfully went down in flames. That is what they were claiming. It was false then. It was false 50 years ago. It remains false now. But he's now going to argue why he thinks it is false. He said, incredulously, I would have thought that I would not have thought that a controversy was necessary on a matter so obvious. Me either. A libertarian, as the name applies, is a believer in liberty. And economic liberty is a part of total liberty. And it is liberty in the economic sphere, freedom of production and trade. Now I know here's where we just start getting into, though, definitions. And it's like I said in that recent video I did on the humanitarian responsibility of freedom, that people who are not libertarians do not see themselves as aggressors. They do not define aggression the same way we do, and we need to come to terms with that so that we can all get on the same page. I think Hospers here might be missing the point a little. The people who are claiming socialism is compatible with libertarianism obviously do not believe that they are enemies of freedom. They think differently. They're not stupid people. And another thing I want to make clear, because I don't think this is made clear enough, I'm not a you're not a real libertarian type of person. I don't think any of us are pure libertarians, and as I have said often, I don't think people are libertarian. I think ideas are libertarian, and people are more than walking bundles of ideas. You're much more complicated than a simple political philosophy. And I have zero problem with libertarian socialists in the party. None. As long as they don't claim that socialism is compatible with libertarian party philosophy. And that might seem weird. Why would they be welcome in the party if a certain part of their philosophy is not compatible? Well, I'm pro-life, and I'm told every day that that's not compatible, and you want to know what? I'm okay with that. You don't get any special award for being 100% in agreement. As long as you're not falsely representing what the party believes, have your deviations. We all have them. And what happens is if your most important value is this alleged socialism, you'll find your way out. Just like if my most important value was pro-life activism, I wouldn't be in the party because it would be such a conflict that that's not what the party believes. And if that's the thing that's most important to me, I obviously will self-evict. But if it's just one part, and I agree on the majors that are the most important, then which is what I do, there's room for me, there's room for people for whom socialism is just a small portion of their entire libertarian beliefs. But if it is the most important thing, they're not going to be comfortable here. And we don't need to throw people out. People figure out where they're comfortable and not, and they make their own choices. I don't believe in the whole purge mentality. I think it's totally stupid. But that doesn't mean we have to pretend like every single idea that a self-avowed libertarian holds is compatible. It's not. Okay. Now that I've made that clear, even though I'm sure it will be twisted in some way. Hospers continues, and freedom of production and trade is the phrase that most accurately describes the economic system. One might even call it the lack of a system known as capitalism. And I love the way he said that. And that is why I think the switch from laissez-faire capitalism in the 1972 Statement of Principles to just free market in 1974 is so beautiful, because it actually does imply a kind of lack of system, which I actually think that is what capitalism is. I don't buy the bullshit that you need a state to prop up capitalism, and I find that particularly rich coming from socialists, because most people would think you need a state to prop up socialism. So if they can envision a way in which there is stateless socialism, surely they are imaginative enough to do the same for capitalism. I think that's a big double standard there. One can, of course, mean different things by the word capitalism. Okay, That's true. It is not the word that is important. It is Karl Marx's word anyway. And as such, I have no attachment to the word itself. Agreed. I don't either. And I said this also in my humanitarian responsibility of freedom message. We cannot get hung up on the words people are using. It's not what people say. It is what they mean by what they say. If you get hung up on words, you're just a pedant. Continuing. But what the word stands for does indeed matter very much and should matter to every libertarian. The importance of it can be illustrated as follows, if any illustration is necessary. And unfortunately, it turns out an illustration is. Suppose that a man has a brilliant idea for a new product which will be of use to thousands or millions of consumers. He starts a processing plant, hires workers, produces the product, and sells it to those who wish to buy it. Many do buy it, and he becomes wealthy. At this point, either he will be allowed to keep it or he will not. Pretty simple. One, if he is not, e.g., if other individuals rob him of it, they will quite rightly be called thieves, and hopefully they will be hunted and caught. If government takes it away from him, in an act of legalized looting under the cry of share the wealth, then its officials too are thieves and plunderers. In this sense, of course, every government now existing in the world is to varying degrees composed of thieves and plunderers. But this should be no news to libertarians. This is why they disapprove of expropriation by governments. 2. But if our man is allowed to keep it, then we have freedom of production and trade without interference by bandits of either type. He can produce according to his choice and keep the fruits of his labor. And what is this? When generalized to include everybody but laissez-faire capitalism? Absolutely. And how can anyone who calls himself a libertarian fail to believe in this? If he doesn't, consider the alternatives, socialism, of whatever kind or degree, the government expropriating the products of his labor in order to give it or sell it for votes to those who have not produced them. And I would add here, let's envision a government-less, a stateless socialism. It doesn't matter, just like it didn't matter in his number one example, whether it's other people who are robbing him or the government, it's still robbery. If you can envision a stateless socialism that expropriates it for the common good, whatever that might be, it is still just as much a thievery. And I love what Ken said here. I am going to put this on the screen. Ken said, I literally had this conversation twice tonight about getting caught up in words versus the philosophical principle that we want to convey. Words are just a medium, not the ideas themselves. Abso-fucking-lutely. As I have liked to say it. I've done this in when I'm doing theological talks a lot of times when I used to debate theology. Words are just containers for meanings. The words, the letters, the sounds that are produced by our vocal cords are arbitrary. It's the meaning that we've all agreed to assign to it. The color blue, the word blue means nothing. We've just all agreed that the spectrum that is represented by is what we're going to call blue. We could call it and it would still be blue. So it is very, very important that we do not just get caught up in this pedantry about words. Continuing at Mr. Hospers. But it is said a libertarian society can contain socialists too. And I agree. Yes, it can contain those who, because libertarians advocate freedom of speech, advocate socialism. And it can also contain many who practice socialism in one very restricted sense of the word. And this is what is important. And this is where I think some so-called libertarian socialists play a shell game. And I don't think it's honest. Most self-described libertarian socialists, and I said this directly to Kevin Shaw when he was on my show, are not socialists. I think they just like the shock value of the word, and I'm not saying that to be insulted, because one reason why I'm so attached to calling myself an anarchist is I do like the shock and awe of the word. I do like the reaction that it provokes from normies. So I am saying something that is equally true of me, and I think some quote-unquote libertarian socialists just like being provocateurs. They are not socialists. They are what I call communitarians. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but that is not socialism. Communitarianism is not socialism, and I think most libertarians are actually communitarians. I'm very much a communitarian, and I am not a fucking socialist. Okay, so continuing at Mr. Hospers. It can contain many who practice socialism in one very restricted sense of the word. A libertarian society, and let me go on to the second page here, which I will be reading from. Here we go. A libertarian society can contain many people who voluntarily choose to live and work together, say in a commune, and share their goods equally, or in any other matter that they have mutually agreed upon. That is communitarianism. That is not socialism. And we all engage in various forms of communitarianism in our life. And sometimes I don't think I explain this really well. And here is the rub. They have voluntarily chosen to do that, and they can voluntarily opt out because they have still retained the libertarian theory of property rights. They are not sharing it because they feel it rightfully belongs to everybody. They are sharing it because it was theirs and it is their right to share it, and they can just as equally revoke that right. In actual socialism, in this not restricted sense of the word, you don't have a right to certain types of property. And that is absolutely incompatible. As Ayn Rand would say, A is not A. A is A. So let's continue. But it cannot contain those who practice socialism in the sense in which that term is almost universally used in our century. An economic system in which the state owns the means of production. And I don't think he encountered many quote-unquote stateless socialists. So we don't even need to put the state here, in which society owns the means of production, in which the means of production cannot be legitimately owned by an individual or a group of individuals. That is the key here. No, that is absolutely incompatible with libertarianism, and that truth claim cannot exist in a libertarian world because it would be by its very nature an act of aggression. So, and I do see your comment, David, and I will be pulling it up in a moment. I think it's very apropos. Let's see, the state owns the means of production and distributes the products of that productive process as it, i.e. the reigning bureaucracy, or even the reigning society, I don't think it needs a state, sees fit. The reason why a libertarian society cannot contain such persons lawfully is obvious. All such persons initiate the use of force to make others conform to a central economic plan. Exactly. There is no opting out. If you do not inherently have a right to, say, own and rent out land, that's absolutely incompatible, because what happens if you agree at one point and then you disagree and you want to take your land back? Somebody who believes you do not have the right to it will refuse to let you take it back. Meanwhile, in Libertarian Party libertarianism, you have every right to take it back. And those two worldviews cannot peacefully coexist, because each of those people, consistent with their own worldviews, are aggressors to each other. You cannot just simply cry nap. Nap is meaningless without a theory of property rights. The theory of property rights of actual socialists, not communitarianisms, is fundamentally opposed to the theory of property rights of Libertarian Party libertarianism. Continuing. And such a practice violates the most important libertarian principle of all, that the lives of others are not yours to dispose of. Socialism does dispose of the lives of others without their consent. Ergo, a libertarian society cannot contain those who practice socialism in that sense. No, of course not, because they would be criminals and aggressors. Okay, let me put up David's comment before we continue. David had said, most libertarians would allow you and your buddies to be as collective as you want. And I'd say it would be incumbent upon them. If you're not aggressing upon anyone, how is it anyone else's business? Go ahead, be collective. Wife swap, land swap, I don't give a shit. Just as long as you don't force people into your commune. It is not the economic system, and in fact, it's not an economic system at all. It's a voluntary arrangement, but rather the initiation of force and theft that is repellent to libertarian folks. Correct. But again, we have to properly define force. And if someone is truly a socialist, if truly believes that an individual cannot own the means of production, that wages are slave labor, that somebody is robbing you of some added value, if you believe that you cannot rent property, if you truly believe that rent is theft, that is absolutely incompatible and cannot exist in a libertarian society, not at least in a libertarian party view, the type of libertarianism envisioned by the statement of principles. Mr. Hospers continues, I have tried to explain the mechanics of capitalism in my book, Libertarianism, especially chapters 3 through 7. I thought I had made the matter as clear as others had before me, that no further discussion was necessary as to whether libertarianism implied capitalism. The truth is plain enough. Capitalism is libertarianism applied in the economic sphere. Absolutely. You cannot consistently believe in libertarianism without believing in capitalism. And let's define the word capitalism as Hospers does, which is the free market, with the free market implying that you have the right to own land, to own multiple homes, to rent them out, and to own factories. You know, just to put it down to its simplest sense, which is the exact opposite of what actual socialists believe. Any more than you can believe that the United States exists without believing that its western half exists. To say that libertarianism is not wedded to any particular economic system then is false. Absolutely. And that is why that alleged NOLA Accord was a big, fat load of stinking horseshit. Freedom of production and trade, capitalism, is as much a precept of libertarianism in the economic sphere as freedom of religious belief is a precept of libertarianism in the religious sphere. To say otherwise is to court popularity among potential members and by deceiving them as to what they are being invited to believe in. And we do that a lot, not just with socialism. This is why I do not believe in watering down our principles. I do not believe in hiding from people that we do believe in the eventual abolition of all taxes, because you are deceiving people into what we actually believe, and that is not respectful to people. Let's see here. Preparing them for disillusionment, and not just disillusionment, anger and betrayal when they discover it. It is true that they may be put off by the word capitalism, just like it is equally true that they might be put off by the idea that libertarians believe in the repeal of all taxation. But the thing to do when that happens is to explain to them in detail the fallacies that they have been guilty of and thinking that the thing to which the word applies is harmful and evil. You do not shrink from the implications of your own statements just in order to win their favor. You assert your position boldly and then explain to them in detail why their beliefs about the thing they have been taught to hate are mistaken. And that falls true for everything that we believe. And where we are erring greatly today when we put forth a milquetoast message because we think we're going to scare people. Well, what the hell? Don't we think they're going to figure it out eventually? Do we think they just get braver? I don't know what it is that we think, but this seeker-sensitive libertarianism is a lie. It is a lie that is disrespectful to people. I believe people deserve to know the truth about everything in life. And when you're presenting libertarianism to them, they deserve to know right up front what it is that you're selling them. Otherwise, you are a snake oil fraudster. Let me do my little mic. Where's my little mic? Mic drop. Oh my God. I'm going to hold it up here. This is so cute. All right. That is all I have for you tonight. I got all fired up at 4 a.m. It is 4:30. Let me see if there's any comments before we go, because I do love interaction with comments. No, that was it. Thank you so much for interacting with me. I am again at the Pennsylvania convention. I've been doing periodic little live streams, so look for those. I think I will piece them all together at the end to have like a little mini blog. So let's full screen here. Yes. Okay, I meant to do that before. So I will talk to you throughout the day. Good night to you, Ken and Jesse. Thank you. I am praying that this convention goes very smooth. I know there's some anticipated drama, but I have faith in libertarians that it will end up being a kumbaya at the end of the night. And if that requires getting drunk and sending booty hole pics, well, then let the booty hole pics get sent. I will see you all soon, and just my little spiel as we go. I want to thank my patrons. If you can and you enjoy the work that I do, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. You have no idea the extreme gratefulness I feel for everyone who does go out of their way to do this. I mean, like, not to be all goony or whatever, like when I get those emails, sometimes it actually does bring me to tears. And there is some patron-only content where we are going through. I'm a little bit behind, but when I come back from Pennsylvania, I'm going to bust out a few more chapters of Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, 1972. Okay, y'all, I'm going to try to get a couple hours of sleep before credentialing. Talk to you later. Love you all. Mi guapas de libertad.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.